ReZero, Season 4, Episode 11. Right, the Ram confrontation. I'm guessing hoping to save him. Yeah, sort of basic, predictable. Oh no, this is so, no, it gets worse and worse. But okay, but yes, right. That's the thing. I think that seeing Subaru like this, their first instinct isn't like disappointment and wow, I guess I was wrong about him. Everything that's happened until now was a lie. Instead, they're gonna think like something must have happened. Like if my friend started exhibiting just really bizarre behavior, I think that would be my first line of thought. Gee, I wonder what happened. Also, separately, it's interesting how it hits me differently when Amelia walks in and sees this than when Ram does. Little torture will do the trick. It usually does. Right. Yeah, especially in this world, right? Like it could be so many things. And this is, in a way, is a very nice thought. It's very charitable. This isn't really Subaru. This is some evil entity. Oh, weird. It's endearing. Okay, this is true. Hear him out. Yeah. Oh, this is so touching. And it's so undeserved. But like, well, okay, it's complicated. There's different Subarus, right? And there's the reality and the broad perspective versus how it would feel as this Subaru with no memories. And like, as the viewer, for example, as them, it makes total sense why you would extend this sort of charity. But for this Subaru, this is exactly what he's suffering under the weight of. And this is just more of that crushing weight. Damn, even if I'm a murderer, like even if I try to murder Ram, they still love me. I guess I'm just pathetic then. That is the only possible explanation. She's completely forgotten. Wow, she just tossed her. This is not helping though. Like, you can't really prove this. Okay. This weird static symbol, channel symbol. Probably dead. Yeah, you might have done it. Yeah, here it is again. You're not supposed to be down here. How'd you get down the stairs? Oh no. He got bored of waiting. He's like, hey, I'm part of this arc still. What the hell? Is this arc about me? Remember the trials? There's something sort of humiliating about his presence, speaking of which. There's something about him that's so cuttingly judgmental. What are you, a loser? Look at your stupid room. Typically, I don't stand for room slander. I haven't in the past, but something about the way he does it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. My room does suck. This is a creepy-ass room, though, to be fair. Reid is sort of infuriating in that it feels like he has everything he wants, and he'll beat you in power. And power, like, it's hard to explain away as not being important or not wanting it. And not only that, it's so effortless for him. Maybe he can give us some guidance, some older bro guidance. What we need now is a brother in the least likely of places. What are you, a crybaby? Yeah, what are you doing here? It's weird. I decided I could. Wow, he survived that. I can use doors and stairs. I mean, if anyone stands a chance out there in the desert. Right, the castle's coming down. He? Julius. Oh, this thing again! Everything makes a comeback. Oh, there's so many of them. I'm not even sure whose side he's gonna be on. Like, just kill them all? Nice. What? Huh? I would love to read Julius's book, though. Meili now lives in his head, I guess. There's maybe a slight insult to injury, given the fact that even beyond the grave, Meili is being forced to adapt to Subaru's wishes. She now exists as a mental mouthpiece for his dark desires. Like, she just can't rest. There's something to that. That's interesting. With his sandals. For my own amusement. Those are weak questions. Only the weak ask questions. The strong just live. Okay. put that away. What are you gonna do with it anyway? That really is what it is. He just felt cooped up in there, and then he just decided to come down here to murder everyone. Maybe he's the culprit. I mean, that's not unreasonable, right? All these loops we've had where Subaru's stumbling upon corpses, he's like, who did it? Some of them at least could have been Reid. Who knows? This isn't the point, so I don't want to overfocus on it, but weaklings don't have a lot of options other than make excuses is interesting. Because if you really desire something, you can't necessarily force yourself to undesire it or truly believe something you don't believe about it being not important. So in that light, you have one of two choices. You can go for the thing and try to acquire it, which is probably extremely difficult. Or you can like pretend that either you don't need it or you're better off for not pursuing it, even if that's not genuine. Even casting aspersions on other people who are doing well in that way. Like, for example, talking about money, I think most people would choose to be rich given a binary choice, right? But like at the same time, being rich is evil. Like if you value power and fighting ability, you just can't really argue with someone like Reid, which isn't to say he wins all games, right? He just wins that game. There are many games and even higher games. The key probably is honesty, and that itself is going to take some strength. Pursuing anything good is going to take some sort of like something, you know, some agency, some power, self-directedness, will, and this is like to make a huge jump now, but I think that at least some degree of modern day societal angst comes from a feeling of not being able to participate, not being able to envision, being able to actionate the things one wants. Maybe to begin with, not even having the thought at all that that is within one's own purview. Thinking that certain things in life are gifted and thinking that other people have received a gift where I have not. And of course, there are many people who would use that sort of messaging as a strategy because it's very compelling. I like how Reid just decided this episode was about him. I hear you, Subaru. I see you're going through it, but I'm Reid. I'm the main character now. That's sweet. Subaru takes that to heart and runs. I don't know what to think about this dynamic. I'm not ready to totally give up on it yet, because there's something about this that Reid enjoys, and so it's not like that distant from liking Julius, if that makes sense, in some way. Invincible comes to mind with Conquest. We're like, yeah, it's an antagonistic relationship, but there's something there, maybe? It's a weird contradiction. Can you not? Can you get out of my head? What a thing to say. Who let you out of your cage? I think you're a little biased. Gut instinct. Oh, from before, I see. Yeah, there was something selfish happening there. Oh no. This is sort of meta commentary. Yeah, like I feel like it should be especially believable in this situation, but it's also hard to prove. They ask me something I wouldn't know, you know? This proves it. This is really coming out in this castle hallway as it crumbles. What's weird is that he's not getting... Wait, where is the punishment? Oh, is it because he's not talking about return by death? This is not the place you want to spawn, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. This is who I really am. This has got to be such a shock to them. I understand how you can feel that way, yeah. I was wrong to not value my life. She's just totally convinced. This poor kid. I promised Julius I'd keep you safe, and for some reason that matters to me. Yeah. As pitiful as I am. What the hell is that? I suppose. Even at the end of her attacks. Look at that. When he's not overthinking it, he sprung into action. Wow. Look awesome. I don't remember just about anything about Betty. I also forgot all the lap time. It's a very magnanimous, big view. And I don't think it's entirely cope, right? Like, it would be nice to share the memories, but Betty still has whatever that is, right? All the warmth, all the things that Subaru has given her, all the memories of Subaru, she has. So they are real. And also, it's much more than just concept. I mean, the circumstances are different, but this is maybe similar to that cliche but beautiful thing of, like, people we've lost are still with us. Of course, they are still alive in our memories, but it's also so much more because they have shaped who we are as people, and so they are still alive in a certain sense through our actions, through our choices, actions which are influenced by our framework, which were influenced by those people, and so on and so forth. And that is something that extends beyond even the memory of them, right? Like the people for whom your actions affect will be carrying you, and also therefore carrying those that you carried to that relevant degree. And so we are sort of embodiments of a lot of the people who came before us and all their efforts, and also their sins, right? Looking in the other direction is partly why our lives are so significant, right? Because all of our inputs, our virtues and our sins are what we pass on as sort of like a non-genetic DNA. In this case, I mean, Subaru's still around, right? But the actual like implementation of that Subaru is still alive in all the people he affected, even if he never gets his memories back. Also really interesting about this is that I think that this hits on at least one aspect of what is just fundamentally good about Subaru, right? Which is these sorts of breakdowns. He has a lot of emotional problems, some of which is just basic human stuff, and some of which is the result of being in these insane situations. And at the confluence of the two things, he will try to navigate the situations using something that's not exactly right. There's a flaw. And so the problems will compound over time. And he'll get to sort of this agonizing point where it's just not working. And he also happens to be very naturally introspective and wants to please for a number of reasons. So it just crushes him. But he'll have these breakdowns, which probably don't feel very good. And if you're being judgmental, you might say look pathetic. But I would argue, at least the way he does it, because they're sort of hitting on something that feels real and feels honest, there is a strength in doing that. There's a strength in like admitting where you're going wrong. With the caveat, again, given that it's honest and not done for the point of just like useless self-berating or like in some sort of manipulative sense trying to evoke emotions from others or attention from others. It's just genuinely this is where he is and what he's struggling with and what he feels the insufficiencies are. And that kind of thing, you know, it knocks you down a couple rungs. But if it's done cleanly, you've created kind of a blank slate in that way, at least, where now you can sort of start again from zero, so to speak, and, you know, try a different approach. And this is one of those cases. And there's no momentum for this, right? This is just who he is. And there's a way of looking at it where if I had to choose which sort of strategy I would want, rather than choose a great state of things for a person, I might choose a great process. And I think a process by which you can correct and grow, where you identify mistakes and have reasonable and constructive breakdowns and then try again with a better effort with the right sort of North Star, I think there's a pretty good case to be made that over time, that leads to some really beautiful things. There. This sounds like real Anastasia. Oh no, you woke it up. Oh my god, was it a mine? Crazy, they self-destruct too. Oh, I don't want to see the aftermath of that. I guess I'm going to see the aftermath of that now. I hope... Is this the second time she split in half? Okay. Can of worms. Did you just use her as a human shield? That hurts. Wait, I gotta see that again. She was the one who jumped in front of it, right? He didn't just like shove her in the way. About the I'm never enough thing. This is really tricky, but I think there's an importance in separating what is circumstantial and what is your efforts and not mixing those two. I think the way I see this most often is the reverse, right? Like people overestimate the role of circumstance in their lives as an explanation for why they can't get what they most need out of life. But in Subaru's case, like, man, this is not on you. You know, this is really not your failing. Speaking of process versus circumstance, process, I think maybe often a better judge. Like, did you really actually do your best? Sincerely? Things are going to go wrong one way or the other. It's not about you. What is about you is your choices, what you knowingly overlooked, you know, things like that. I don't see how that works, but we're trying to rationalize. Oh, I see. Wow. Well, she did do that in one of the scenarios. That did happen. Poor Meili having to be the voice of this. Okay, it definitely seems like he's split in two different worlds right now. I think he'll find the light, though. As it becomes more real to him. You don't gotta do this, man. Okay. Ooh, that's a huge relief. I don't want that for you. No, that is not the right conception. That's not simple. Oh no, not you too. Okay, I see. Yeah. No, it's just not you, man. It's not you. The way he is right now really just feels like it's conception following feeling. At this point, it's not that there's some factual thing happening that makes him feel bad. He just already feels miserable. He's in that state. And so like whatever he does, he's going to articulate to himself as his failing as a human being and worthlessness. It's not really a sound argument to say that he's a failure because he can't murder Anastasia no matter how much she's suffering. That's just like trying to tunnel all things into a pre-established conclusion. And that's just a state of despair. That's just extreme depression and grief. This is not a good breakdown. Yeah, it's a voice like that.
そうだな。
I guess I'll just die then.
愛してる
Not having that. Love you too much.
愛してる
Okay.
愛してる
Sort of clingy.
俺は愛してない。俺は
That is significant. Yeah, that's critical.
愛してない。
Right, and if you don't, then you can't receive it.
知ってたさ。
Right, my mom and dad love me.
心の底から俺を愛してくれてた。
It's a great point.
両親に愛されてるのに、愛される価値のない自分を愛せるはずなんてな
Ouch.
かった。
Ouch, this is too real.
愛してる
やめてく
You
れ。
keep saying that.
勘弁してくれ。
Maybe if I say it enough times, it'll get through.
あんなに必死で一生懸命で俺によくしてくれる人たちが悪い人たちのはずがない。分かってた。
I'm the bad one.
これが最後にできるなら、これの
Jeez.
最後に夏木スバルなんか消えてなくなったって。
Yeah, that's not a solution though.
愛してる
Give me a hug.
愛してる愛してる愛してる
Weird. Weird. I love it, but it's so weird. Get into my ball. Come into my cocoon. My arm cocoon. I mean, like, maybe it gets... Maybe. There's something to this, right?
愛してる
Like, it doesn't work once, but if you say it 1,000 times, you're like, I guess I am lovable. Maybe it's something about the confidence and the insistence and the unwaveringness of it. I think there's something like, this is gonna sound weird, but My Hero Academia about it, where you can do this if you're at 100. If you're at 99 or below, you can't even make the attempt. You can't give someone the feeling of love. No matter how much you love someone, like with Beatrice, that love is within you, really. Similar to insight, for example, and feelings of significance to things, emotional resonance, you can help them build the tools so that they can get there, but you can't directly give it. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're in that state, you know your parents love you and you know what love is, but if you don't have a certain capacity for accepting it, it might end up just being painful. And also, the attempt to reach them actually contains pitfalls and dangers because you're human too, right? And even if you love them, you have expectations and desires. And the extent to which you can be disappointed is probably the extent to which you will eventually be disappointed. And the other people seeing your disappointment and possible resentment will then be even more cynical and more bitter about the whole experience. It's why it's super dangerous to try to rescue people or meddle in their emotional affairs. I think you have to approach it like someone who's drowning, right? Like you throw them the life raft, but you don't reach out a hand to get pulled down unless you happen to be just the most remarkable, powerful swimmer of all time. But then, like, and this is just sort of a hypothetical, if you had perfect love, well, then there wouldn't be anything tied up in it. There wouldn't be any risk for you being hurt and disappointed. It would just be pure expression of love. And in that case, it may or may not get through, but there's like no harm to reaching it. And it might get through. So I don't know, maybe saying I love you a billion times and really feeling it and not caring that Subaru hates himself, not caring if he hates you. Maybe that does something. You know, maybe that creates the space, a little warm cocoon for him to feel a little bit better. And then more specifically about Subaru's self-hatred. It's painfully relatable and it's a bit sad. I think to take it farther, I think what ends up happening sometimes in these situations where people are so adoring of you and you hate yourself is you end up hating them, and that is a really vicious cycle because deep down you know it's you, like he's admitting here. And so like it just deepens it further, right? I think the sort of thinking, there's something about it that's instinctual. Like my mind can go there. It can go to these sort of over general attacks targeted at my very being and existence. Very easy to think about all the ways I've failed or I'm failing, all the ways I've let people down. I think it's just easy. You know, I don't think that'll ever fully go away. But some ideas I think are helpful. One of them is to not take such a broad view of yourself. I think we exist more as potential than we feel. You know, like we think we're just this entity and we are what we are and that's it. But teasing it out, one thing that isn't set in stone is our choices. And I think what we feel about ourselves largely stems as a result of our choices and kind of building up a reputation with ourselves. And it's a little bit of like a lagging indicator, so to speak, right? It takes a little bit of time to build up. You need enough time to establish a pattern and to observe yourself making good choices and saying, oh, actually, I am capable of that. And so like one, having that skill of differentiation of like what you really are and what you can do is important. And two, just having the patience to like allow yourself some time and experience and not be so over categorical about it, right? Like I'm this sort of person, I'm that sort of person, I'm stupid, I'm a failure. Like what does that even mean? I'm a failure. Where exactly does this failure exist? Is it in your DNA? Probably you're referring to a history, but I mean, that's a history of the way things went and you have your future. If you can pick things that actually are within your control, you know, speaking of being process oriented, well, then you can probably make that happen. You can exhibit a process by which you yourself would be proud of yourself. And I really think that if that's done in a way that is honest and not trying to escape the actual responsibility or difficult decisions, then that will take care of a lot of it, even if things don't go perfectly. Also, I think related to that is there's a certain amount of societal messaging I think we have to reject. There's this idea that like you're born perfect and that happiness and love, for example, are things you deserve, but like it's not a gift. Speaking of that thing where the conception of it has to come from you, it's not something that you're waiting to receive. But also I think it's not necessarily something you can instantly manufacture for yourself. Take happiness, for example. Happiness Happiness, I think, is kind of a secondary byproduct of something else. And I doubt I'm alone in thinking that, like, if I don't feel happy, I just don't feel happy. Like, I'm not going to force myself to be happy. I think there's a better point of focus, which is hard to put into words, but it's something like being good. You have to find out what your life is and who you are, and you have to sort of like take some of that agency into your own hands and see yourself moving towards some sort of vision or ideal that you have about yourself. I think if I look at what were the absolute worst periods of my life of the greatest despair and what were the best, I think a common element was that all of the bad times of my life were a period of something feeling horribly wrong combined with either me not knowing how to improve it or me just having no concept that it could be improved. And so it felt like that was an eternal problem, right? Like this is just what life is. Whereas the best periods of my life were where things felt like they were going towards something that it really felt right and felt good. Like I can see development. Oh, I actually do have the power to affect things in my life positively in a way that I like. In a way, this is a little bit harsh, right? It's like there's something you could be doing. And the way that a mind in that state would internalize this is like, oh, after all, it is my fault. But fault is the wrong approach to begin with because we're not trying to judge it. We're trying to make good choices. And these are not the same thing. In fact, you might argue that that sort of judgment is itself a way of avoiding having to make the choices. Because if you're just a failure, why bother? This ties into why I think the breakdowns work so well for Subaru because they are those inflection points of like, you know what? I got to let this go and I got to try something else. Even if the new thing is imperfect, it's an iteration towards an ideal. But also, she really, really loves you, she says, though, you know, skeptical. I'll show you what true love means. Thanks for saving me with your sword. Where's Ram?
なんで助けようとする
スバル
どうかしてるぞお前もユリウスもベアトリスも
This is true. I mean, yes, but also, they are a very weird group of people, but they do genuinely love him. Amelia would be a great person for this.
死んだ両足が吹っ飛んで痛いのと血が足りなくてベアトリスもそうだ
Ugh. It's so much worse. It's so much worse for them. Like, this is the only timeline as far as they know.
取り戻すとか疑って悪かったとか何言ってんだ
It's an interesting mix of things that are the other Subaru and this Subaru that they're commenting on.
私はすごく大事な希少をフェルトちゃんに取られちゃって
Right, and you risked your life.
それを取り戻さなくちゃって
Remember Puck?
スバルが助けてくれて
This did happen, yeah, despite intense personal pain, the depths of which Amelia herself doesn't know.
それでロズワールの屋敷に一緒に連れて帰ったの
He's getting the season 1 review.
文句を言いながら治療してくれて
She was a slow convert. I mean, there were a lot of slow converts, yeah.
スバルは仲良くなったのよ
Very, very slowly after murdering you, but we'll skip over that part.
ロズワールが魔獣をやっつけて私はお留守番
Yes, she stayed home a lot back then.
スバルに無茶して傷ついてほしくなくてなんでそんなに優しくしてくれるのかわからなくて
That's relatable right now, yeah.
全部覚えてるの
覚えちゃいない思い出せもしない
That's okay.
誰かのために命かけで何かを成し遂げられるふざけるなそんな奴が夏気すばるわけがね
But I mean, it is.
どうしようもない腐った野郎なのか
Yeah, so you see the
どうしようも
problem.
ねえクソ野郎なんだよ俺が誰よりそれを知ってるんだ
What's crazy is that it does feel like the truth. Right? You really think that that's real. You don't realize the extent to which, like, you are creating your own miasma. And it probably started somewhere else, right? Like, it probably started with some experience, maybe in early childhood. But, like, you just took it and you fed it. And now it's become this cancerous version of something that was real. But it hides itself, it kind of Trojan horses itself in under the disguise of that one grain of reality, right? Like, it started there. And like a child growing, you built it so gradually, you don't even realize it's grown. Subaru has done things that he regrets, right? And he has failed. That's very different than I'm a good for nothing scumbag who's rotten to the core.
俺は俺には
You have. It's already been established.
話さなきゃいけないことも
Where to begin? Yeah.
一つだけ聞かせてお願いあなたの名前を聞かせて
Starting over.
あいつに何を期待するんだよ
あなたの言う通りかもしれない
You could be,
スバ
yeah.
ルより強い人はいるしきっと頭のいい人だって
Oh, no.
たくさんいる
Not now.
私はどんな時でも一緒にいるのはスバルがいい
Aw.
そこにいたからそうしてくれる人より好きな人にそうしてもらえた方がずっと嬉しいもの
This is interesting.
お前こんな美少女に惚れてたのか
Good job, past me.
それがお前の力の源だったのか
I don't think that's quite right.
身の程知らずにも限度があんだろう どうしてそんな高望みができるんだ
I think that one common element here is that you have to believe it's possible. Actually, even that I think is wrong. To take the most difficult view, just like with love and happiness, I also am not convinced you can force yourself to believe. But I think there's a beautiful solution there also, which is that you don't actually have to fully believe in yourself. There's a way in which that's true, but it's not like the actual emotion of it. You know, like I know deep in my heart that I am everything I need to be and or can be what I need to be, that I can succeed, that this can come true for me, that I am sufficient. I don't think you can like strong arm that, but you can sort of have faith through action. Let your steps be the faith, even if you don't believe in yourself. Take the steps as if you did. Relevant to me, obviously I'm not like the biggest YouTuber or anything like that, right? But doing this for the last however many years it's been is something that has been so far above my wildest expectations and given me so much more than what I thought I even wanted. You know, like I found real like depth of human experience in this. It's formed my worldview. I'm not even sure I had a worldview before doing this. And circumstantially, materially, thanks to an astonishing amount of generosity from people I've never met, have largely been able to live doing this. And to be perfectly honest, when I started doing YouTube, I never really fully believed that that was possible. I couldn't really honestly get there. Like I was plagued with doubts. I just thought there were things I didn't have that would make it not possible, that it was too competitive, it was so far out of reach, etc. But like still something compelled me to do it. And I think part of that was that I enjoyed the process of it. And I liked feeling like I was doing something. I liked feeling like things were in my hands. It was nice to be able to focus on something that I could at least see fruits of, even if that was just a video I made that no one watched. And it turned out to be way more than anything I ever thought it could be. It was an experience of a lifetime. And I think just the actions itself were sort of where that essential faith resided. So like you don't even have to necessarily believe in yourself. You don't have to like yourself. It doesn't really matter so much where you are now and how you're rationalizing it. You just sort of have to have something that you're aiming at, as clear as a picture as you could muster now. And then you try to approach that through action with honesty. It's something like that. And give that time. And you know, you will pull yourself out of it. You'll find yourself in new places that you never expected. And so like, I don't think that Emilia's confession of love solves it, right? But what it might do, the way it might actually be realistically useful, is that it gives you something to think about and to aim for. At least there's a clear path and you can measure yourself. You can measure the movement. You can measure your actions against it. That's how you escape that sort of perpetual infinite soup of sadness, you know, where this is just the way things are and they'll never improve, right? That's where the true despair lies.
お前みたいなやつがどうしてこんな美少女と
She's got silver hair and everything.
お願いあなたの名前を聞かせて
Natsuki Subaru. I know that look and that fist clench.
夏木スバルユリウスに託されてベアトリスが信じてエキドナが許してエミリア君に願われる
Okay, there's something very subtle about this.
エミリアたちを助けたい
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
救いたい夏木スバルにそれができるなら俺がそれをや
And
る
she's overcome.
俺にそう思わせてくれ
Speaking of blasting through it, right? Being at 100. This is at 100 love. And now we have something to do right now. And he just jumps right into action. Wow, looking like a Final Fantasy character. Just into the void. Where are we going? Where is this? What the hell just happened? Oh no! Yeah, unlike the outro. He turned that around quick. He's jumping into like black holes. What is it? Why does it look like a sea of his memories?
ここからがきっと始まりになる
Awesome. That's cool.
たとえ君が忘れても俺が君たちを忘れない
Wow, that's beautiful. And that's also returning because that's what they gave to him this episode. Okay, I think that the interpretation of this is really important. I think there's an interpretation of this that perpetuates the problem and one that actually is wisdom and contains the path forward. The extent to which the solution is found in the perception of others, I think is the extent to which you just perpetuate the problem. Subaru is not made whole because Emilia and others see good things in him. In fact, that's come up again and again up until this point. Everyone has had faith in him, not least of all his parents, and as we've seen, that has actually exacerbated the problem because it's revealing of all the ways in which he feels like he himself is failing. So in that sense, what would be different about Emilia loving him? Why not have the same reaction to that too? And I think the answer lies in how much Subaru makes it about his own aiming and sees it as an ideal for him to reach for. Like, oh, what would I have to do to become someone that would be worthy of this? You know, and it's not perfect. You know, but we've started it, you know, it's begun because we at least now have shifted things towards it being in our own hands, right? There's something to be done. One byproduct of which is that we are no longer extremely powerless, right? It's not like this fog of failure that just presides inside of us. Now there's a question of what I need to do. We pulled some of that agency back out of the void. One of the important things Emilia gave him isn't the love necessarily or the feeling that she really has strong feelings for him, but the idea that there's something to strive for that's worth striving for that is in his hands, right? And so then, okay, I'm imperfect. There are a lot of things that haven't gone the way I wanted them to. I don't don't like certain qualities about myself or the way they've shown up in my history. But there's something here that's important that I think would feel good to move towards. So what do I got to do? How do I become someone like that? And it sucks. Like, it's kind of a painful place to be because you're starting from nothing. Inertia does a lot of it, you know, and you have nothing now. You're just complete standstill. You're not even sure it's possible to move the boulder, right? You're just like fruitlessly leaning on it. But, you know, give it a little time. Like, let the traction build. Let things sort of take shape. Get just the first modicum of momentum. See if that doesn't feel great and see if that doesn't alleviate a lot of the dread immediately. I'm moving in that direction. That's cool. There is a chance, and we haven't articulated this, but I think this actually is something that is Subaru. Like I said, the ability to reflect, the ability just to notice at a very basic level, right? Just to see that things have value and to have goals, to want to move towards something that is better, to be able to admit that what one is doing or the way one's thinking isn't working, but that it's still worth approaching, I think is a beautiful thing and is one of Subaru's greatest gifts. There's also something great about the fact that, speaking of like carrying other people and yourself, Emilia also channeling Subaru himself to help Subaru in a way, which is really nice. This isn't the end but the beginning is a nice way of encapsulating that. This is my starting line. Also, this is a throwback, this song, right? You damn right. Better than I ever have been this arc. This cycle. He looks totally different. Determined.
戻ってきたぜ
Hey. Wait, does he have his memories? Or, I mean, just like, okay. Well, either way, it's cool. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I mean, another thing about that is that he's expecting himself to be this great person, but a lot of it was genuine feelings he had for other people that spurned him into action. And he had no time to build that with people. We saw that first with Pastrash here. Like, once you see who Pastrash is, you're like, oh yeah, Pastrash is worth fighting for. I love Pastrash. You know, get to know Beatrice and Emilia, etc. And you probably find that your good qualities come out because it's not just random. You're just thrown into this weird world of NPCs. You have stakes in it. And, you know, that's when you know, or we'll find out who you are. This is a very interesting episode. I mean, it's very grand in scale and there's the magical element of it, but there's something that's just so relatable. I think there's just some degree of this that everyone will go through in adolescence, for example, and some people get it really bad and some people also have it way, way beyond adolescence. I mean, probably everyone has it to some degree, right? Just more broadly, it's our instinct to try to put things into categories and labels, and it's important to do so because it helps us navigate, but there are obvious and terrible pitfalls of that, which are that they become prisons, right? Like if I'm just a failure, that's it. There's nothing I can do about it. I think there's this scale between my ability to actionate something and something being out of my control. And I think part of healthy development is shifting priority and focus to the category of things that are in my hands. And luckily, I think all the sort of very high-reaching things that truly matter, you could argue, happen to be things that are within our control. And maybe they are important because they're in control, but that's a tangent. But I think not only are we trained to, but we also want to sometimes go down that route of focusing on things that are outside of our control. Like we're pulled into like world affairs and societal movements and stuff at the expense of focusing on our own actions and our own behaviors, as one example. Partly because it's actually easier, right? Like it's harder to suffer the weight of being responsible for things in your life that matter and having to do difficult things. But that is also where the solution lies. And even if it wasn't, it's all you would have anyway. All you have is what you can affect. In terms of plotting a course and taking action, it probably is most helpful to focus on what's in your hands, right? And that probably is your life and your words and your deeds, including your words to yourself. And I think Subaru's pattern often mirrors that nicely because he'll think about what he has to do. And he doesn't always hit the mark on that, but it's a developing process because he'll go to that route far enough, realize its shortcomings, and then kind of reset and try again. But all of that is very like sensory, tactile, things he's very connected to. And I think Emilia here does serve as a reminder of that, but I think it doesn't happen without a choice from Subaru on some level. And that's how I'm reading that I'm back moment. With or without his memories, there's sort of a recall to action and what he has to do relative to what he wants to become.